think by now everyone has asked this question when it comes to the Reiner murders, the double homicide. This question is, where was the security? Because right out of the gate, news sources were saying that this was an inside job, that Nick Reiner did it, all kinds of stuff, because he's the only one that has access to the codes. So I started doing a little bit of digging. And I have sources as well now. I have people that are sending me things, and I'm not going to reveal the source because I want it to continue. They send me video clips, little articles here and there, and I was actually sent this over the weekend, and it's basically the news media actually setting up their gear in front of the Reiner residence. And we've been told from day one that Nick Reiner checked into a hotel. He murdered his parents Saturday night. So if you watch the TMZ documentary, that's what they're going to say. Checked into the hotel Sunday morning, and then Sunday night he was arrested. So I started flipping over each one of the stones, and I found out that that's not exactly true. It's not true. And I also found out who the security company was that actually operates at the Reiner residence. So welcome to Black Swan Diaries. All right, so we're going to look at this footage that I received over the weekend by a source of mine. And this person continues to send me video clips that I don't think I could have found because there's too many news outlets out there, and sometimes it's nice to have people actually doing some of this work for me behind the scenes, so that I could focus on the topic at hand. And today we're going to be focusing on a little bit of what went on the next day, December 15th. Again, they're telling us that Nick was arrested Sunday night. And I'm telling you, nobody knew what was going on Sunday night, including the LAPD. Why? Because they had a press conference, and I showed it. I showed it in my series. I basically showed the LAPD saying at about 9:30 at night, they did a live press conference. They said they didn't have any suspects. They said they didn't have a search warrant because they weren't allowed back into the home. So once you leave, once the police leaves, once the fire department, the paramedics leave, you can't go back into the home. It's because of the Fourth Amendment. And that's your rule in America. I don't know what the rules are in Canada. It's probably similar, but for you guys, if you show up at a scene because you're dispatched because of 911, so somebody calls, in this case, Romy's roommate, Alex, made the phone call to 911 while Romy called Billy Crystal. When 911 is called, they will dispatch the fire department, usually first. And that's what they did. And then the paramedics came, and then the police came. So the fire department went in and found Rob Reiner's body. And they also found in another room Michelle Reiner's body. Separate rooms. And this is now coming out. This is now coming out because when we first heard about this stuff, it was they were both murdered in their bed together with their throats. That was presented by TMZ right out of the gate. So you got to start asking questions like, who is the source for TMZ? Because they have lots of sources. They say they don't pay for sources. I'm sure they probably pay someone for some of this stuff. But it's interesting that they right away blamed it on Nick when the LAPD didn't make any announcement whatsoever. And the LAPD was a little bit lost when it came to all the family members and all this kind of stuff. As in, they don't know where they were, who did what, when, where, why, how, all this stuff. Why? Because all they could do is they can ask questions outside the residence, but until they actually see it and start investigating it, they don't really have much to go on. So they were waiting for the coroner to show up, and they were waiting for the search warrant from a judge. And again, at 9:30 on Sunday night, they said they didn't have a search warrant, and the press was constantly yelling out at them, "Why are you not able to go back into the home?" And they're like, "Look, to be clear, because of the rules, we have to follow every rule. We can't just go back into the home." So the bodies are exactly where they were at 3:45 p.m. They haven't been moved for at least 6 hours, and according to TMZ, Rob and Michelle were murdered in separate rooms before midnight Saturday, so midnight Sunday morning. And then they started to spin the narrative. Well, Nick wasn't at home. Remember, they were at a Christmas party. Rob, Michelle, Nick, perhaps Romy, perhaps Jake, don't know yet. It's very secretive who's at that party. It's almost like a secret invite. Like you can't just randomly show up at Conan O'Brien's Christmas party. And I talked about that in another video. They don't know when Nick left. They don't know. That's very important. It's very important when you're talking about this stuff. When did everybody show up at the party? And then when did everybody leave? So if Michelle and Rob left before Nick, because remember, they're trying to spin that Nick was wild. He was crazy. Everybody said he was out of control. And Rob had an argument with Nick. This is what TMZ and other media sources are saying, that this is what happened. It got so bad that they asked Conan O'Brien to call 911. Conan O'Brien refused, and that's all we know, according to TMZ and the 99% of the other sources out there. That's what they'll say. But then you'll get sources close to the family that will say there was no argument. And the media is blowing it up. So now you got two conflicts. You got a conflict between two stories. One story saying there was a huge blow up with Nick. He was acting crazy. He went up to Bill Hader and said, "Are you famous? Are you famous? Are you famous?" And even saying that's not a crime, but let's just say that did happen. Okay, then why didn't Conan allow people to call 911? What was the big deal? If he's crazy and everybody's saying he's been mental for the past month, why didn't you call 911? Or why didn't you ask Rob, Michelle, and Nick to leave? Is that what happened? Apparently, that's not what happened. Michelle and Rob left the party, but again, nobody's snitching. None of the celebrities are coming to the public. They're not making any press conferences because I think Alan Jackson, when he was Nick's lawyer, subpoenaed at least 10 of them that we know. and they're not replying. I think part of it is they don't wanna be known to be at this party, as in just they're hoping that people just forget that they were there, because all they did was they went to the party to have fun and then leave, go on with their film projects. They don't wanna be messed with a murder trial and all this kind of stuff. And if Nick never did anything at the party, they're gonna be like, "Yeah, there's nothing. Nick never did anything." But if they're not responding to the subpoenas, that's a problem as well. That's a problem. It makes it look like something more fishy is going on at the party. 'Cause I think logically what you wanna do is you wanna clear all the witnesses from the party and say, "I heard Nick do this. I heard him argue," and then now you have a little bit of a motive now. But if it's he said, she said, and nobody knows, you gotta throw that out, because you need a couple of eventually to try someone for life behind bars, or to execute them, you need witnesses. And in my Bible, it says you need 2 or more witnesses. So far, we're not getting witnesses. People that are being subpoenaed don't want to come forward except for 2. And in fact, they had their lawyers show up to court during the arraignment, which was supposed to be an arraignment for Nick Reiner. Who were those lawyers? We don't know. I have a feeling it was Conan O'Brien's lawyer, and I have a feeling it was Bill Hader's lawyer. Why? Because they're the ones that have been in the media over the past month, where people are whispering, saying, "Did you know Bill Hader was talking to Nick and telling him to leave us alone because we're having a private conversation?" And Nick said, "Are you famous? Are you famous?" He was going around people. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to find out, is that what Nick said? And if Hader's lawyer shows up and says, "No, that's Bill doesn't want any part of this. That's not what happened," whatever, and chooses not to show up and explains why, it becomes a problem for the prosecution now as well. And the defense is trying to get witnesses because, again, you need witnesses for a crime, and they're not coming forward. They're not snitching on Nick. And Nick, according to the same sources that everybody seems to love, TMZ, Nick has been on record to say, "I'm not guilty. I didn't do this. They're framing me. They're setting me up. This is a conspiracy against me." And then TMZ will say, "Well, it's probably because he's still coming off his meds. That's why he's saying this, because if he was fully on his meds, he wouldn't have he would know that he killed his parents. And he knows he killed his parents because he's in jail." Well, he knows because the police had to tell him why he's being arrested. So of course he knows why he's being arrested. That doesn't mean that he did it. He's allowed to remain silent. And these are just rumors flying around that he's saying that he's been set up. I actually believe that, because I've said it from day one that he's been framed. And now you hear TMZ saying that Nick is saying the same story as what I told you at the beginning. Nick is saying it. Nick is saying, "I'm being set up." And people will say it's because he's come off the drugs now that he's going, "Oh, they set me up." And then before they're like, "Well, he's on the drugs. He's off the drugs, so he's not in his right mind." Or he's on the drugs. That's what made him crazy at the party. Okay, but then he showed up calm, cool, and collected at the hotel to check in. They're like, "Well, he's crazy. That's what a crazy person does. A serial killer, they're crazy. They don't have any emotions." Okay, but you're saying he's crazy at the party, but sources close to the family said he wasn't crazy. Well, they're crazy for saying that he's not crazy. Like it starts spinning. You got to ask yourself, why is TMZ doing this? Why are they doing this? So let's go to this footage that I have, and let's have a look at the security, and let's see what's going on here. All right, so this footage that we are about to watch is about 9 hours long. So we're not going to watch the full 9 hours, but we're going to skim through it and see what we can come up with. I already did a little bit of homework. I watched a little bit of it. I didn't watch the whole thing. So some of the things that we watch we'll discover together. But a couple of things that I want you to notice is this went live December 15th. Okay, that's so important. That's the next day. Sunday is December 14th. So my question is, if they were going live to cover this stuff because they wanted to hear the press release from the LAPD, why didn't they set up Sunday morning? Because this is the morning. This is the morning, and I figured out via ChatGPT what time the sun comes up in LA, in Brentwood, and all this stuff. And it turns out the sun rises on December 15th about 6:50, 7 o'clock a.m. in LA. And it takes about 20 minutes or so for you to be able to uh, see what's going on, because this is before sunrise. So I looked at it, looked at the footage, went, okay, in about 20 minutes or so, it's actually daylight. So that gives me a time frame of when this is. This is not Sunday morning, because TMZ and other sources or other networks are trying to say that there was so much media coverage on Sunday because they're getting ready for the investigation from the LAPD to reveal who murdered Michelle and Rob. And I'm telling you, that didn't get discovered until Sunday afternoon at 3:45 p.m. Because remember, there was a 911 call made by Romy's roommate. Called the police, said, "Hey, we have a murder, or my girlfriend's dad is dead." They weren't treating it as a homicide. They were treating it as a death investigation. This is important. So I'm trying to map this out together, because once Tuesday, December 16th, Wednesday, September 17th, the days start getting foggy because all the news outlets are saying that Nick was arrested Sunday night, that Nick booked a hotel Sunday morning, that the staff actually discovered the hotel room at 11 o'clock on Sunday morning, that they saw blood in it. Think about this. Just for 1 second, think about this. This is according to TMZ, and this is why I think they're up to no good again. Remember when Charlie Kirk was assassinated? They're the ones that started laughing the second they found out about it. It was actually quite disgusting. And now they're trying to tell you that Sunday morning, Nick Reiner checked into the hotel at 4 o'clock in the morning, and he looked tweaked. According to the staff, he's tweaked. I think that was added in. I don't think the staff said that. That's just me. Kind of seems weird that the staff would say that, but hey. Then at 11:30, the staff went into Nick's hotel room, 207 on the second floor, hotel number 207, room number 207, and they found blood everywhere. They found blinds all over the curtains. They found the bed sheets were soaked in blood. They found carpet with shoe prints all over it. And then they found blood in the bathtub and in the sink and everywhere. It was everywhere. That's what we heard right out of the gate. And then on Friday, TMZ says that, well, actually, the staff didn't really notice any blood. It's a little bit in the sink, a little bit on the bed sheets, and they didn't feel it was worthwhile for them to call the police. This is TMZ saying this, folks. So think about it. That actually makes more sense to me, that perhaps Nick cut himself shaving. Sometimes people floss and they get a little bit of blood in the sink on their dental floss or whatever it is. And then they use Kleenex, toilet paper, or towels to dab the blood, and then they throw the towels in the bathtub. That's proper etiquette. If you have any towels with a little bit of blood, dirt, whatever it is on it, you throw it into the bathtub. But it's important that we have to remember this, that the guest cleaning, room services, house cleaning did not think that there is enough blood for an alarm bell to go off, to go, oh, we got to call the police because there's been a murder. They didn't do that. And it was always weird to me why they kept saying there was so much blood. That's not the crime scene. So what they're trying to get you to do is imagine that Nick arrived at the hotel with all his bloody clothes, because he would have been soaked in blood, and he wrung it out in the bathtub. He accidentally, because he was insane, so he's not aware of his surroundings, so he probably touched the bed sheets. He probably put a blind, like, nothing makes sense about this. And everyone's running with this stuff like Nick did it. And I'm trying to take this apart piece by piece and say it doesn't make sense. We know that Nick checked in on Monday morning at 4 a.m. And he was arrested Monday night. Why? Because the LAPD said they arrested him on Monday night. And we can verify this. And I showed the video of the press conference where they said yesterday, Rob Reiner and Michelle Reiner were found dead at their home. Tonight, we arrested Nick. So you can just do the math and figure it out. Yesterday is December 14th. Today is December 15th. And they arrested him at night after staking him for about an hour and a half. So about 8:30 to about 9:30, they had undercover cops all over the gas station waiting for Nick. It was almost like a setup in some ways. And you got to wonder who set him up. I keep thinking about this Rocco guy, that he has his own security company, Four Lions. And I find out that there's actually two security companies. Four Lions is for personal security, and for some reason they're guarding Rocco. You got to ask yourself, where were they when Rob and Michelle got murdered? But okay, maybe they got relieved because it's Christmas. Okay. So are they the same company as the security detail for the home, the residence of Rob and Michelle? And it turns out they are not the same company. It turns out there is another security company that actually takes care of Rob and Michelle's home. And we're going to see this in this footage. So let's just play it here. I'll talk a little. So this is the news outlet. What are they called?
Are you good?
What is the news outlet called? It's called DRM News. They set up this camera right outside Rob and Michelle Reiner's residence. Make this a little bit bigger. So they're getting the camera set up. Nothing crazy here. This is just normal stuff. I used to do this kind of thing. I actually had my practicum at Canada's largest news network, which is called CBC, Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. I actually did my practicum right out of film school with one of the best cameramans in, I don't know, probably in Canada. And he actually taught me everything about cameras and all this kind of stuff. And we would go to places like this, and I would actually go to the editing room and watch footage like this that was uncut. And I would see bodies because the cameraman would zoom in on people and then pull out and all this. And obviously they wouldn't use that footage for their evening news. They would cut around it, and because they didn't want to show bodies and all this kind of stuff. So this is normal. What's going on is on on Monday morning, because this is when this went live, December 15th, the press conference or the press is arriving. They're showing up with all their vehicles. You can hear one of them in the back right now. That's an ENG truck.
Hey,
It's such a crazy world. Such a crazy world. Let's go back to me for a sec. Let's go back to me. Okay. I say an ENG truck. It's interesting to me anyway. Maybe you guys might find this interesting. One of my favorite toys when I was 7 years old was an ENG camera crew. An ENG camera crew. There was 3 people. One looked like a tubby Grant, who was a producer. I think his name was Grant from Mary Tyler Moore. That used to be my favorite show when I was about 7 years old. And I got my parents bought me an ENG crew. So there was a cameraman with a camera, a shoulder camera, and he also had one of these cameras that had a dolly where you can go up and down in the camera. It had a chair and everything built in, and then you can actually store this stuff in the vehicle. And the cameraman would drive. I would actually set it up where the fat guy was actually the producer. The cameraman was actually filming the videographer or the reporter, which was a lady. So you got a guy that's the camera guy, and then you have a director, basically producer. So I had those 3 people. That was my favorite toy. I would play with that every day. And again, at about 7 years old, my dad bought me a tape recorder. So I started making shows at 7 called WKRP in Cincinnati because that was my favorite comedy show. With Herb, remember the turkeys being dropped out of the helicopter and they all died? That was crazy, but it stuck out in my head. It was Herb actually thought the turkeys could fly, so they went to a school Thanksgiving party or whatever, and then they went above the school at the helicopter, and they wanted to drop like 100 turkeys or something in front of the kids, and he thought it'd be kind of cool to see all these turkeys flying around and stuff, but he didn't realize it wasn't clocking for him that turkeys don't fly. So they all dropped to their deaths in front of all these school children, and they're all devastated. So I used to make little radio shows with my little tape recorder with my uncle, and I'd pretend I was one of the guys, Johnny Fever, and we'd always be recording. This is Shane, or this is Johnny Fever from WKRP in Cincinnati. I'm 7. And then I started renting video cameras with my mom's credit card. I would go out and buy film gear, put it on her credit card, and then I would go out and film little movies with all my friends. And then I went to film school. So people are like, "Why is this interesting to you?" It's interesting to me because I did a lot of this stuff. I told you I was on movie sets. I was in the movie Inception. There was 10 of us. They brought us to Fortress Mountain for a week. I had a trailer, all kind. I had an agent. I was in Painkillers. I was a cop driving a cop car in the movie Painkillers. I was an FBI agent in another movie about some Mormon with a bunch of wives, and I was an FBI guy with a photographer that was also an FBI agent, and just quick little extra stuff, no lines, no dialogue, whatever. But I would always gravitate to FBI roles, security, police. I would go on ride-alongs with police officers. I would do ride-alongs with investigators as well, private investigators. I work for security companies. I work for hotels. Um, I tried writing scripts. So I'm very familiar with all this territory is what I'm trying to say. This is why I'm a bit focused on this, because I want to give you a little bit of a perspective on what's going on, and then kind of explain as we see things, what's really going on here and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully that gets you up to speed as to why I do this stuff. All right, so let's go back to the footage. Let's just hit play now. Enough of me talking here. All right. And the camera crew is setting up. I just want to forward it a little bit so we can get an idea. So this is about 5 minutes into this footage. Remember, this is 9 hours, so I'm not going to go through the whole 9 hours. But this is important if we're trying to figure out. There it is right there. Look at this. 255, and see that sign that just went by there, ACS? That's a security company that if there is a break-in, if the alarm is tripped, whatever, this is the company that gets notified first before the police. So ACS is the company. How do we know this? Well, there's a sign in front of the door, but we also see something else. So this is Rob Reiner's home, Rob and Michelle Reiner's home, Nick's home. That's the gate. A lot of people are wondering, like, who turned off the alarm? Who had access to all this stuff? So you have ACS now, and this is important because they're the ones that are responsible for the security of this home. And there you can see the camera crew bringing a bunch of microphones. Camera guys are getting set up, all this kind of stuff. They're getting all ready with all their gear. Like, it's getting busy. It's almost like a little mini city. And notice this just started happening within the last couple of minutes. We have a mic on the camera, and it's just rolling. So you can hear what's going on. The commotion is starting to build up because people are arriving. Their vehicles, their crew, they're getting their coffee. This is early in the morning. Remember, this is about 7 o'clock in the morning. And look at that. Right there. Let me just back this up again here for a second here. So that was ACS. So that tells you that they were around. At least in this morning. Like, now you got to start asking the question. Oh, okay, let's just look at it. Here they come. Let's see if I can pause it here too when they show up. Hope you guys find this interesting. I do. Right there. ACS Security. So where were they when Rob and Michelle got murdered? Where were they? I want to see the logbook, because when I worked for a security company, every hour on the hour, you had to write down what you saw, what you heard, what you seen, who you saw, everything, every hour on the hour. So you'd make your rounds like this guy is doing. So in an hour, you're going to see this guy again, because that's what they would do until they get relieved during the day. So this could be his last pass in the neighborhood, because once it's daytime, you don't necessarily need the security anymore. But they usually make a loop every single hour in the neighborhood. So if you're making a loop every hour and you see the gate open, you're going to report that. You're going to say at Saturday night at 10:59 p.m., noticed gate was open. And then they go check it. They go see if anything's wrong, and if they are uncomfortable, because some of these security companies don't have guards that are carrying. Not every guard carries a gun. The Four Lions group has guns. Some do, some don't, but they're known to also carry, because they do personal security. These guys may not have had a gun, because usually what happens is, if there is a break-in because they saw a window broken, smashed, a gate open, whatever it is, they will report it to the police, and then the police come and check it out. Not the paramedics, not the fire department. The police will come. So that's important. So they may not have an alarm system. They just may not, because these guys are driving around. So the only thing that you need to do is you need to hop the fence now. You don't necessarily need the code to get into this place of residence, because they may not have an alarm system, period. Welcome to Brentwood. Welcome to Brentwood. A lot of the celebrities do not have alarm systems, and I think that's important for people to note, because a few years back there was a gang, I think it was called the Bling Ring, basically a group of teenagers that after high school they would actually go around and they would scope out celebrity homes in Brentwood and surrounding areas to try and rob them. So how would they rob them? Well, they would just they would scope the house on Google Earth, and they would look it up and they would go, okay, here's where the house is, and they would search 360 degrees looking at the gates. Maybe there's some entrance like in between the 2 yards, the neighbor and the home, and they would find openings around the place, and then they would scope it out, and then they would go onto Facebook or Instagram and then go, oh, look, Paris Hilton is actually out of town, or she's at a party. And if she's at a party, that means she's not at home. So let's go to her house. And so this Bling Ring would go ding ding, ring the bell, and nothing, no one would come to the door. No alarm system, no dogs, and they would lift up the mat at the door, and there was a key. Paris apparently had left a key underneath the doormat, and they used the key to get into the house. And then they also found out other celebrities like Orlando Bloom and others would not lock their door. I know it's surprising to us. It's surprising to us, but this is LA because they have security like this driving around, so they don't lock their doors. They don't have alarm systems. They don't have dogs, none of that stuff. That's a hassle to them. Paris Hilton has been on record to say, I just normally I wouldn't lock my doors. And then she started discovering some of her jewelry was missing, and some of these people from the Bling Ring would actually post it on Facebook and say, look at us. I got a new pair of shades. I got a new necklace. I got these rings, all this kind of stuff. And Paris noticed that a bunch of her diamonds were missing and cash would be missing, but they wouldn't notice the cash right away. So there were groups of teenagers that would actually go around looking at cars and trying to open the cars to take credit cards, wallets, cash, whatever's in these cars. And they would do that. And then they upgraded to rob celebrities. This is a thing, and this hasn't gone away. So it's interesting that the robbery division showed up at Rob and Michelle Reiner's home. Why? Because it kind of looks like a robbery. And again, if you don't have security cameras, because you have these guys going around, that's going to save you a little bit of money and headache and all this. So the chances are there may not be cameras at Rob and Michelle Reiner's place. Some, I don't know what the percentage is of celebrities have cameras. Not all of them. Michelle and Rob were older. They may not have had cameras. They just may not. So this could be the reasons why we're not getting camera footage leaked out or anything like that right now. If there was camera footage, it could be turned off. So again, we're asking the question, where were these guys? Because they're supposed to go around every hour on the hour. Why didn't they notice anything? What happened? And again, if they're just doing this drive by and they're not really paying attention, they could miss it the first time. They could miss that the gate's open. It's happened. Security companies miss things all the time. But here, this looks like I would just hop that fence like nothing. If you know the celebrities aren't at home because they're on record to say, we love going to Conan O'Brien's Christmas parties, they're going to scope out Adam Sandler, which lives just on the other side of Rob Romy, to the left of us, I believe. And then on somewhere on the right is Billy Crystal. So they're going to scope out all these places and go, we know they're at a Christmas party. And maybe, perhaps, again, if I'm trying to help you out, TMZ, if there was an argument, I'm not saying there was, maybe Rob and Michelle just got tired because they're, how do you say, old and past the prime. Maybe they just decided, you know what? We're going to go home. That happens at parties. Rob is 78 years old. Michelle is 70. They get tired about 10 o'clock at night. And maybe they got home amidst the burglary. And this is what you call a burglary that went wrong. And they attacked Rob, killed him, and his wife Michelle screamed out, and then they attacked her and killed her. It wouldn't be that far-fetched to have something happen like that, because again, these celebrity homes are notorious for being scoped out, not just for criminal stuff, but also for fans to sneak in and all this kind of stuff. Like this ring bling, they weren't trying to kill anyone. They wanted their jewelry to pretend that they were a celebrity themselves. And they would go to pubs late at night to try and rub shoulders with some of these celebrities. And then they got caught. They were in jail, but they're free now. They're free as a bird. All of them. They all had little tiny jail sentences of like a year, 2 years, 3 years. That's it. So you have these people, and I'm not saying that they're responsible for this, but there are copycats out there. And these guys did it for fame and fortune and all kinds of stuff. They got arrested. They got sentenced to jail for like 1 to 3 years. That was 2010 up to 2015, in that range. Crime has gone up in this area, folks, in Brentwood. It's not down. It's not as in zero crime. People still get broken into. And the best time to break into a celebrity home like this one is when you know that they're going to an annual Christmas party, which was what they did on December 13th. They were at a Christmas party. We know this. This is a fact. They were there. There's eyewitnesses saying that they were there. So now we have a problem here, because the robbery / homicide division, which just got combined a few months earlier, because it used to be robbery and then it used to be just homicide. But now we have a robbery division because there's more robberies than homicides in this county. So they combined them. So I think the LAPD showed up thinking that this quite possibly could be a burglary versus a murder, as in a burglary gone wrong. They got caught by Rob and Michelle Reiner, and then Rob and Michelle paid the price, and there was no security. And again, I think these guys are responsible for the outside. They just go from house to house on the outside, driving around the road to deter people from breaking in, because a normal person would go, oh, we shouldn't go here because the security's here. But if you know these security get paid almost minimum wage, they're not going to get into a scuffle for any celebrity. They're not. They're not wannabe cops. Some might want to be a cop, but they can actually get into trouble for a physical altercation with a celebrity, with a burglar, with a criminal, whatever. That's not their job. Their job is to report what they see. So I'm not blaming these guys. I'm just saying logically it makes sense that they were actually outside and they never go inside the yard. They just go on the outside. It's a deterrent so that robbers, when they show up, they go, oh, look, HCS is here. They must have an alarm system, or they must have security guards with guns and all this stuff. And it's like, no, they don't. It's the car that deters you. So if you're going to break into a place, you see that car going up, you're going to change your mind. But if you know that this security company just drives around, you can even wave to them and they'll go by, and then you hop the fence and you begin your robbery. They're not going to do anything to you. All they're doing is they're writing down everything they see. And if they don't see you, they don't write it down. So let's just skip ahead a little bit because I don't want to make this show too long. I like to stick within an hour, but hopefully this is kind of interesting to you guys. So here's more. We're going to skip through here. Here's more reporter show. Come over. King Charles, I'll be here. We need the content. We need the content. Well, my channel's on my channel is... And I'll put this link. I'll put the link to this video in the description so that you can watch all 9 hours of it. And then if you see something interesting, email me, blackswandiary2022@gmail.com. Okay. Here's the email right here, because I'll put it in the description. I think this will actually help me out as well. There it is, right there. So email me, blackswandiary2022, if you decide to watch this entire 9 hours, take notes and say, hey, Shane, you might want to check out at the 1 hour mark, the 2 hour mark, the 3 hour mark, whatever it is. Just be a little bit specific on that. And then I can find out what you're talking about. You can even make notes in the email saying, hey, look, this might be interesting for your show. And then tell me if you want me to mention your name or not mention your name. A lot of times the people that I deal with that are giving me footage like this, they don't want their name mentioned. So that's okay. That's okay. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. All right. So let me just go back to this. Let's scan ahead a little bit. So like I said, there's reporters around. ADT, that's an alarm system right there. So that's interesting. I didn't see that before. So ADT is an alarm system. So that tells me that they may have had alarms there. But then you got to ask yourself, why was it turned off? Why was it turned off? And who turned it off? Was it Rocco? Water, please. More reporters. You can get a scope. See that? That goes on forever down there, folks. Goes on forever. This is a big deal. This guy just came from Burger King. See, I notice everything on this. I notice everything. Those are some fancy cameras too. I tell you what, they are fancy. So they know something is up here. This is a big story, but it doesn't get covered in Canada, and most people don't know about this stuff. But this is a big deal. I think this will be bigger than O.J. Simpson. I'm actually surprised in some ways that sometimes I think about this. I'm like, you know what? It wouldn't shock me if one of these days they go, this just in, a new breaking news. Rocco has actually been arrested. He confessed to the crime or whatever it is. And he is now he's the main suspect. And then Nick gets released. That would not surprise me between now and February 23rd if the assistant of Rob Reiner was the one that masterminded this whole thing, told the ADT, turn off the alarm, told the security, don't worry about it. The Reiners aren't even around. Don't even worry about it. You don't even need to loop around here, whatever. I don't know what they would say. I don't know what he would say. But Rocco has been a suspect for me from day one, the second I saw him and his assistant, Missy. It's just weird. And I also showed you the footage that I got from a source of them actually leaving the scene of the crime with evidence. They had bags of stuff. I don't know if it was for the family. It's possible. But it kind of looked like they had a blind. Kind of looked like they had boxes of stuff in their bags. So all I was saying is, you might want to ask these guys some questions. And nobody's asking Rocco and Missy anything, as far as I know. You need to subpoena them. All right, let's continue here. What else do we have? Let's continue.
Smart. Okay, cool, smart. I don't know.
See the camera? This is a normal thing for these guys to put lights on. I showed you the footage the other day of undercover cops. Maybe they were reporters. I don't know. They kind of look like undercover cops, and these guys will actually turn the light on their phone. They'll do it like this. They'll do it like this. I don't know. Can you see this? So they do this. And when I showed you the footage at the gas station, we see what looks like to me an undercover cop, because remember, I used to hang out with private investigators. They would go like this with the camera and go down, just like this, take a picture, and then put it down because they need it for evidence as well. That's what they did at the gas station. So that tells me it was a stakeout. They were baiting Nick to show up. And it was about an hour that they waited at the gas station. Let's continue. Let's fast forward a little bit here.
So I'll let you reconcile when I get here, okay?
More footage. So we're about 15 minutes in, and so the sun should start to come up, which would take us to about 7:10 a.m. roughly.
Give me a try. Work with this. Okay, all right, so I'll flatten out here.
Remember, this is Monday. It can't be Sunday, because as far as the whole world is concerned, the crime hadn't happened yet, because the bodies weren't found to 3:45 p.m. That's what was on the death certificate. The bodies were found 3:45 and 3:46. That's not the time of death. That's when they were found. So if you have that, that means all this stuff here it was actually uploaded live on December 15th, which is Monday. The press is now gathering. TMZ and others were trying to tell you that the press gathered on Sunday. They didn't gather until Sunday night to hear that there was no suspect. That's what they heard. So now they're here on Monday.
Let me do this real quick.
So this is about 20 some minutes in. You can see the sun's coming up now. It's interesting, right? Seeing all these guys setting up. They're getting ready with their stories.
We're on a fucking roll. Thank you very much, bro. I appreciate you, laser fight. Let's get it, dude. We'll round up. That's $200. Well, no, you're not $200. Fuck you. I'm Jewish, you know. Hey, bro. Dude, my bro. Let's get it, dude.
It's interesting watching these guys recording in Yaki box back there. Let's just see here. Okay, so this is 36 minutes in, and now we're at daylight. So again, we're at about 7:15, 7:30 in the morning. So these guys set up about an hour early before they started. Really, now they can actually start recording this stuff.
3,000 years ago, buddy. It's in the Torah.
What did he say? Okay, what did he say?
Glenn, I think we're
There's
gonna move.
some Jews here that are in the press conference. So I heard one guy say I'm a Jew. So now he's saying something about the Torah or something 3,000 years ago. Let's hear what he has to say.
Handheld,
Huh?
so
Tripod here.
do we need this for the
Get the
medical?
tripod here.
About
Yeah.
Torah.
We need this for the next.
Don't question me about
Yeah,
Torah.
no.
He's not paying me already. I swear. Charles doesn't pay me to do anything. Don't question me about they'll fire me.
If you bring the
George Soros will fire me
I
if
can
I
stand
talk
on it.
about him.
So I'm
No,
not
talk
sure
about
they have
it.
a.
We're not allowed to talk about it.
Okay,
We're not allowed to talk
bring
about
the
the
case,
tunnel.
they can bring the case.
What tunnel?
I'll bring it.
What tunnel's under that? I don't know anything about it. What do you say? What do you say? What do you say? This shot was promised me 3,000 years ago, buddy. It's in the Torah. You're fucking insane. It's fucking racist. You're being a racist. I'm gonna fucking ban you. This shot was promised me 3,000 years ago. It's in the Torah. Get your facts right.
That guy sounds crazy, actually. See what else we see here. More photographers showing up. This is going to be a lot of B-roll stuff. We're just getting ready for it. Let me see if we can see down the road. This is an hour and a half in. Here comes the police. Dun, 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 dun. Who's this guy? These are all the LAPD showing up here. Gentleman is threatening me. So that's the guy that was yelling. I was promised this spot 3,000 years ago. I think what was happening was one of the cameramen was trying to get a better position, because this is what camera people do. I used to be one of those guys, and you try and get the best shot. And this guy started yelling out, I'm a Jew, you're racist. I was promised this spot 3,000 years ago. It's in the Torah. He's crazy. So now I guess he issued a complaint. Like, I'm telling you, these guys are losers. To the LAPD to say that this guy should be arrested. He's harassing me because I'm a Jew. It's racist. So the police said, this is he said, she said. So let me just back it up here. So they're actually here because of this dopey guy causing problems. Putting the makeup on. Those are reporters. This guy's saying, yeah, that guy's crazy. The Burger King hat, he's crazy. Get him out of here.
Everything on stream. I have thousands of viewers on stream. My footage. Guy tried to corrupt me. I have autism. I'm sitting here minding my own business. Guy kept stabbing me inappropriately. And I'm uncomfortable. I want to press charges. I want to press charges.
Wow, he wants to press charges. Like, we heard this guy going off. He's yelling, swearing, all this stuff. And I guess he called the police, or somebody said, hey, get this guy out of here. He's kind of crazy. So now that the police show up, this guy's like, I want to press charges. The guy was groping me and he's racist and all this stuff. And I think the guy that we actually saw whisper to the police, he's the guy in the Burger King hat. I know that we're going off on something else here, but this is just the crazy world we live in, folks. You have any idea on you? Come with us, please. He's just a YouTuber guy. It's not even part of the press. So they removed the problem. They removed the cancer. All right, let's continue on here. I knew that guy was crazy. Second I heard him. Like, you're crazy. Okay, more press now. Ooh, lots of police showing up here. Here we go. This is where it's gonna start getting good. Like I said, I'll put the link to this video because I'm not gonna watch the whole thing right now. Obviously, I'll probably wait till like the evening or the weekend or whatever. I usually like to look at some of this stuff, make this show early in the morning, do my stuff, and then at night come back and revisit the stuff, and then do my homework, do my due diligence over the weekend, all this kind of stuff. Oh, he's back.
This guy, if this was over here and this guy decided to move all this, it's not. I was here first.
Yeah, see, it's a battle of who was there first. Told you.
I want to press charges.
You can't press charges.
Came in my area, came in my bubble. This is my bubble right here.
Yeah, you can't take up that much space, dude.
And you agreed that this guy was being a little mysterious.
So basically, everybody's jockeying for space, and there's dozens and dozens of reporters, and that's the guy that I think is having a problem with Burger King boy. Let's see here. Let's go ahead. So the commotion is so far about Dopey Guy. So people are starting to, I don't know what that is. Oh, that's a candle. So people are leaving candles and flowers and stuff. So they're starting to, pay their respects to Rob and Michelle Reiner. More B-roll. Let's see what else we got here. So we're at about 2.5 hours in. Let me just scan ahead here, see what this is. More people showing up now, paying their respects. And this is interesting here. This guy here, I think, works for the Four Lions. Seen him before. So people are starting to show up now. Let me just back it up just a hair right here. So people are starting to show up, and then they're recording people showing up to this thing. So you pay respects, I guess. Oh, there's Rocco. Oh, my goodness. I know that walk anywhere. That's Rocco. Wow. He's there with Four Lions. This just got interesting, folks. Oh, my goodness. Okay, so we're going to stop it there. Just right when it gets good. But I got to hook you guys. I got to hook you a bit. So now we have Rocco showing up. Remember, he showed up at night saying, can I help? Can I help? Can I help? He's already here 2 hours in the morning. Like after 2 hours of, let's say, 9 o'clock in the morning, he's here. And he's on the phone. So why didn't he call Romy then at 9 o'clock in the morning on Monday? Why didn't he call Romy? Why didn't he call Jake and say, hey, I'm going to show up at night and help everybody out? So you don't want to miss tomorrow's episode. What a way to hook you. Rocco shows up. I'm telling you, man. My spider senses started tingling again. Rocco shows up. I didn't even know this. I didn't even know he was in this footage. I did not know. So I wanted to watch it with you a little bit. And I'm like, hey, we're at about the hour mark. I should begin to wrap this up. This guy shows up. Mystery man. Rocco. Now we got a story. So tomorrow, you don't want to miss tomorrow's episode because we're going to continue to watch and see what this guy does. So maybe I'll hold off putting the link in the description for now because I'll see. Maybe I'll put it in the description. I said I would, so I'll put it in. So this is at about what marker is this? At about the 3 hour mark, this guy shows up. So I'm going to put it in the description. And thank you guys for watching. Really appreciate you. And I'm telling you, man, you don't want to miss tomorrow's episode. You do not want to miss it. And if for some reason, if I forget to put the video in the description, just put it up in the comments. Say, hey, Shane, I didn't see the link, because that tells me if people are actually watching the show to the end. Because this is why I do premieres, so that people don't forward to the end of the show. Anyways, thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.